The Zachary James episode of Juicy Interludes with Angela was recorded on March 26, 2020, 6 weeks before the terrible events that his families endured. He has asked me to read the following statement. Thank you sincerely for the outpouring of love and support for our family as we deal with a horrific and deeply personal tragedy. The Verismo Mag family wishes to send their sincerest condolences to Zachary James and to his family. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Juicy Interludes with Angela. How do you become an opera singer? Well, from my experience, you get your undergraduate degree for performance from a music school or conservatory, and then your graduate degree. You then take part in one or maybe two young artist programs, and by the time you hit your late 20s, you should be ready for an agent or career on the stage. But who says you have to go that route to become one? In comes bass Zachary James, a Broadway baby discovered by composer-director Philip Glass. James created the roles of Abraham Lincoln in The Perfect American and the role of Amenhotep III in the award-winning production of Akhenaten, both composed by Glass. But who is Zachary James? Why the jump from Broadway to opera? Why the very risque video on YouTube or the openness about his addiction battles on Instagram? I'm very curious to know. So, without further ado, please welcome bass Zachary James. Tell me who Zachary James is. Who are you? I've heard of you because of the recent things that you've done, and of course I did my research for the podcast. But if it was someone that wasn't in opera, someone who didn't follow opera, and they just remembered you from the Addams Family, and all of a sudden, boom, here you are in this opera piece. Maybe somebody might be a little confused as to who he is. So, in your own words, who are you?
Yeah, at the root of it, I'm the same as I was when I was in elementary school. I'm a shy kid from a small town in the middle of nowhere in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been really independent, and I have a big heart. That's a big part of who I am, and I can't really get away from that. And I'm okay with it. I'm very sensitive, sometimes to a fault, but it also, I recognize it's what makes me the artist I am, is that sensitivity. And I don't know. I love people. I love making people laugh and smile, and that's why I love being an entertainer. When I was a kid, I grew up in a really rough household, and my parents split when I was 5, and then I had 2 rough households. And I kind of recognized really early on that I could go in the bathroom and take the toilet seat cover off and put it on my head and go put on a pair of my mom's high heels, and the turmoil would stop and people started laughing.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
I recognized entertainment, the value of entertainment in that moment, that it could actually just cut the tension.
Absolutely.
And make things better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of who I still am.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, it's not a toilet seat this time. It's gold. It's gold all over your body, and and a little G-string. So
right. Whatever they give me that day.
Whatever they give you, that's the Late Night Snacks Cabaret, maybe this time. YouTube video. I can't remember when last time I saw an opera singer really reveal itself, unless they were on stage during a production and the director had given them the okay to do so. And your singing was absolutely wonderful. What was that about, and why did you decide to wear that costume?
Yeah, well, Late Night Snacks was this kind of off-campus, late-night, raunchy Opera Philadelphia festival event. And I had seen some of the other performers and evenings, and everyone was doing crazy stuff. And it seemed like just a venue where there were no rules. there was kind of a menu put out each night for the audience, like this is what you can expect. There will be nudity, whatever. So how did I come up with this thing? Well, it was kind of like a Sally Bowles fantasy. I opened that number. I did Lyric-Skiza, the Renée Simpson song, and then transitioned into Maybe This Time. And in my strange head, that made sense.
Okay.
But I did this French art song in this wig and like a trench coat, and then the next phase of that was this complete reveal of this this being. But I have that musical theater background, and that was less risque than some stuff I've done on musical theater stages, and it just felt normal.
Okay. Well, I heard you say that it was sponsored by Opera Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't see that in the post. And so, I guess that moves into my next question. Something like that, if I had done something like that back in the day, no one would ever hire me ever again. So I'm trying to figure out, this is the next question. Did you think it was okay to post it? And in the back of your mind, did you think that it might stop you from getting hired, maybe from some of the major companies? Did you think you would get away with it just because you were a man?
Great questions. I kind of didn't really think about any of that, which is very on brand for me. I just do things and don't really think about it. I put it on YouTube, and some people watched it, whatever. I don't have a lot of followers on YouTube. I put it on Instagram, and that's where I have a lot of followers, and people started freaking out. And then I put it on Facebook, where I have a completely different group of people.
Wow.
And that's where people really freaked out, because I would say in general, my Facebook crowd is an older group, and they're not on Instagram, and they don't see a lot of the risque stuff I put on Instagram. So
right.
They were shocked. But I didn't really think about, getting hired or not because of it. I knew it wouldn't be everyone's taste, but I felt good about it artistically, and felt very much like it was part of who I am as an artist. And especially coming from a musical theater background and getting into opera late, I kind of, in Broadway, they have Broadway Bears, where like you pay a lot of money to see every performer on Broadway get totally naked for Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS.
Okay.
So it's like a very normal thing to take off your clothes.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So coming from that world, like, I didn't even think about it in a weird way.
Okay. Now that you are thinking about it, now that you are thinking about it, do you think a woman could have gotten away with it and still been hired as a Violetta or through a major company?
I think it would depend on the company. I think some companies would respond very positively to an artist voicing themselves that way, and I think some won't. And I think it's the same with individuals. And I've certainly found, I'm finding the companies and people who appreciate what I do and the many aspects of it and want to work with me. And then there's the companies that I'm too crazy for, and I'm okay with that, because maybe it wouldn't be a good experience working with them.
That moves into the next question. Opera, Broadway, cabaret, television, film. You've done it all. You've run the gamut. Is this how you planned your career to be?
Oh no. My big goal was to be on Broadway, and I got really lucky, and I got on Broadway like 6 months after I moved to New York.
Wow.
Total big break, and came with a lot of challenges. My first show closed after 3 weeks unexpectedly. So, I thought it was this big moment, and it just crashed. And I worked really hard and auditioned like 5 days a week for years, and got a couple other Broadway shows, but that was my big goal. I tinkered in opera. My voice teacher suggested I try it out, and I enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed the challenge and the literature and the grandness of the scale of what opera can be, while also appreciating chamber opera and what it can be when it's pared down to almost nothing, and that you can still tell these stories in an intimate way. But it was really Philip Glass that got me back into opera full time. And the director, Phelim McDermott, because I did The Addams Family on Broadway with Phelim, and he suggested I audition for Philip. And that kind of brought me back into opera full time. And I wasn't really expecting it, but I was 30 at the time. And in the back of my head, my voice teacher had always said, oh, when you're 30, your voice is going to start maturing more. You might be right for opera.
Right.
So it kind of all just landed in my lap. And then the big challenge was, the question was, do I want to stay in opera? And the challenge of it being, if I do want to stay, can I just stick to contemporary opera and English language opera, or do I really need to educate myself in this genre completely and expand into traditional canon works?
Wow.
So it was tough, and I ended up making that decision and trying to really, go for it, and started doing Wagner and Verdi and all these wonderful opportunities. But every show there was new challenges, things I wasn't trained in, so tough. Yeah.
Okay.
The TV thing, that's just like dabble, when I get a TV gig I do it, but I've done hundreds of TV auditions and had 2 gigs that were worth talking about, so that's a whole different world.
You don't find too many of us on television. I mean, there used to be a time where, I remember Martina Arroyo on the Johnny Carson show all the time, and Luciano was maybe a guest on some show or something like that, but you didn't see us on TV too often, and not singing. So that's pretty different. That's pretty different. So being that you said you started off doing Broadway, which do you find more difficult? Is the opera experience or the Broadway experience?
Well, I would say opera is much more challenging and keeps me going on a daily basis and constantly learning new things. That being said, the schedule of Broadway is just
it's grueling, lethal. It's lethal.
That 8 a week. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah,
it's your whole life,
Right.
And I kind of miss it sometimes. I miss, because when I'm doing an opera and I don't get to that 8 per week comfort level that you get on Broadway, in opera every night feels like opening night. So that's when I miss Broadway, and I wish we could do, a run of an opera where we do 100 performances.
Well, I want to expand on that. You said that 8 per week comfort level. That's comfortable to you. That knowing. What's the comfortable part? That you're doing the same thing over and over, and getting the same response, or
it's the kind of like doing a show and being on stage, and it feels like you're at home in your pajamas because you've done it so much.
Okay.
And it's kind of a level of artistry and a level of listening and responding and being aware, where I felt like I could do a show for a year or 2 years and still see new things every day. And it challenges you to push deeper and deeper and deeper, but while kind of existing in this really comfortable place where you're so familiar with every nuance of everything.
Right. I think that kind of, I'm listening to you talk about it, and I'm reminded about the opera tours I used to do. Those are long gone. Those are long gone. We would bus and truck it across the country. And so, I can see what you're talking about in an opera setting, and having that comfort, being that comfortable, with the same people all the time, putting on the same show. Yeah, it's like, you're right. It's like putting on, wearing your pajamas and just whizzing right through it. Do you see yourself as a brand?
I guess so. Yeah, sure. I mean, it took me so long to feel like I had the right to identify as an opera singer. And then once I did, I realized I didn't fit neatly just into that box. And I kind of was just like, all right, well, I'm just an artist, and it's okay that I sing an opera. It's okay that I act. I direct sometimes, I write sometimes, and it's okay to just be an artist and enjoy the stage and all the opportunities that it presents.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of my brand. Part of my brand is connecting as much as possible.
Right.
I love the opportunity to connect with strangers over art, and especially opera, which can seem really inaccessible, and people are hungry to learn about it. And when you peel back the layer and let people in and kind of reveal yourself through that art form, it's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another thing that in preparation for the interview, you said something about you find inspiration from rap and hip hop in your opera singing. I was fascinated. I had to add that as a question. What is that about?
Well, like an artist like Chance,
Chance
or even Kanye.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and these artists that are incorporating styles of music that, like the gospel influence on Chance the Rapper, for example, it just gives me chills, like in every song where he uses it, and it's so powerful. And that's a similar emotional experience to consuming opera to me. Like that, it's so grand, and it's like full scale, 0 to 100. And it was interesting that Kanye put out these operas and he got a lot of flack for it, right? People were like, "What are you doing? This isn't an opera." And music critics were like, "This is an oratorio, actually."
Right.
Started peeling back these layers in a potentially harmful way, because what actually happened when Kanye wrote an opera and all these people showed up for it is a lot of people saw an opera for the first time. And my definition of opera is like, if the composer says it's an opera, it's an opera.
Right.
And so we then have the responsibility to continue to invite this new audience into what we're doing and saying it's also this and it's also this, and it lifts up the live arts completely in a way when we connect opera to these other genres that are more mainstream.
There seems to be a shift moving through the opera industry where singers are not being pigeonholed in just opera. Are you a part of that shift, and do you think that's for the better of the art form?
Yeah, I like to think I'm a part of that shift, and I take a lot of pride in, first of all, on a personal level, coming from another genre and putting the work in to make myself an opera singer. Like I'm very proud of that, and what it's taken to get to where I am now. But also, it's not that crazy of an idea. We were just talking about it, and also like an artist like Beverly Sills, who was on the Muppets and on these late night shows, and friends with Carol Burnett and doing comedy sketches. Opera has been more mainstream in the past than it is now, and we kind of somehow lost our connection along the way. And I think we have to rebuild those bridges.
Absolutely.
And, if I can be a part of that, then I'm totally in that fight.
Great, that's wonderful. Yeah, I forgot about Beverly Sills. I should see on television all the time.
Yeah.
And Carol Burnett, she was my favorite. So I remember seeing Carol Burnett doing sketches and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's somewhere down the line it became elitist to do, to go to an opera or be someone who attended opera, and I don't know how that happened. I can't figure it out, but yeah. Okay, so my last question. This is the surprise question that I choose. Your Instagram post, you talked about you being 7 years clean and sober.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling me what your addiction was, and what was the catalyst that put you on the path to sobriety?
Absolutely. So I'm actually, at this point, I'm 8.5 years sober.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had a drinking problem and a marijuana problem. And it was something that started in high school, and I didn't really have a keen awareness of it. And then I went through my 20s in college and just thought, oh, this is just part of being the age I am. And but then it started to affect my work. And at that time, I was only doing musical theater, film, and TV. And I was intoxicated during performances all the time. And and on Broadway, to be fair, it happens a lot. And
really?
like,
Wow.
especially the Broadway of the 70s and 80s, it was even worse.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
so, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but it's not an excuse, and it's something I still have shame about, that I was doing shows drunk for people that were paying $350 and flying in from other states and stuff. It was a very painful experience. So it was when people started to notice that I had a problem that I kind of realized, oh no, people are talking to me about this. That means it must be bad. Right. And it was actually BB Newirth when I was doing the Addams Family.
Wow.
And that was a cast of legends.
Yes,
I looked up to
absolutely.
since I was a kid. And she said to me, it was a Sunday matinee, and we were at places, and yeah. She just said, you were drunk at the show last night. Please don't ever do that again. And I was just like heartbroken because it was a very painful thing, and I had to go to therapy, and then I went to AA, and thankfully I took to sobriety like a duck to water. Like, it was such a relief to give up that burden. It was a journey for sure. But it lined up with my becoming an opera singer as well. Like, I couldn't be an opera singer in my previous state. Right. I had to get sober to be a singer because my lifestyle didn't support it, know? And so, I turned 30, got sober. Addams Family on Broadway closed after I'd been working on it for 5 years and doing it on Broadway for 2 years. And it was like, what now? And then like this light bulb of opera turned on, and things lined up. But yeah, it was a very dark chapter. It seems very long ago now. And, almost 9 years since I had a drink. That's a really big deal for me.
That is a fantastic big deal. Yes, absolutely. Just to add on to that question, do you and I'm not asking you to name any names or anything like that, but considering the business that we're in, do you see the signs of that amongst some of your cast members, whether that be Broadway or opera?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really easy to see now that I'm out of it when someone else is in it, and I talk really openly about my sobriety, and a lot of times at the end of a long rehearsal, I'm sure you've found this, people are like, oh, let's go have a drink, or whatever, let's go back to the housing and smoke, and it's an opportunity always for me to say, oh, I'm sober, actually I don't drink, but always happy to be your designated driver. I'm happy to sit with you and drink water and listen to your story. I'm okay being around it, and I still like to connect with my colleagues. I don't want to completely alienate myself. I see a lot of value in socializing with colleagues. It's really important to develop those relationships.
But I think my question was, did you see it as becoming a problem with some colleagues?
Oh yeah. Okay. For sure. And I've seen it. I've been in rehearsal with people, and it's very obvious they're high. It's troubling, but I'm not judgmental.
No,
of that,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I notice it.
Yeah, because you've been in it and you notice it. Yeah. You know the signs. Yeah. I don't want to end on that note. Let's. Okay. This is a happy one because I wanted to ask you this. Your sense of style is ridiculous.
Oh,
who are your go-to designers? Who are the people that dress you?
I dress myself through a lot of trial and error. It's taken me like my whole adult life to find clothes that fit because I'm 6'6".
Well, yeah, you're fairly tall, right?
Yeah, so there's a awesome company called ASOS, and I buy a lot of clothes there because they have a great line of clothes for tall people. They have a whole shop for tall people, and it's actually like really fun stuff.
Wow, I love that jacket, the white jacket with the pattern. I think you took it in front of the Met, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put that question up. It was like, you don't see that kind of clothing on opera singers too much. You don't see that kind of flash. Especially on the men. The men wear the typical the traditional black tuxedo and nothing too flashy, nothing to make them stand out too much. But at 6'6", you're gonna stand out.
I'm gonna stand out, and I've always been jealous of my female friends who are like pulling a gown out of their purse and it's wrinkle free, and they throw it on with like some bling, and I'm like, how dare you? So,
I wish I could pull a gown out of my purse. I wish I could do that. Oh, that's well, yeah, we can. Yeah, we always have one in the back pocket just in case. You never know what gala might be coming up while you're on a gig. So there's always got to have a backup all the time.
Yeah. Where's my sequins? Where's my sparkles? Where's my patterns? So.
Right. Well, Mr. James, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on Juicy Interludes with Angela. And this has been great. I actually know who you are now, and look forward to seeing you just flourish, whether that be opera or Broadway or film or television, wherever it is. I'm looking forward to it. And this interview's been very, very refreshing. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the awesome questions. Really.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You take care and wash your hands and stay healthy.
Absolutely. Stay home.